Hey dreamers, this is Anisha Jennings, a fellow immigrant and an entrepreneur. From being an engineer in India to building my tech business in the US, I've lived the journey you're on. Welcome to Your American Dream podcast, where we turn immigrant challenges into superpowers. Are you feeling out of place, struggling with a job hunt, or simply missing home? I've been there, and I'm here to guide you through it. In each episode, we'll dive into real stories, practical advice, and mindset that will help you write your unique success story. From navigating cultural differences to building a purposeful life, I've got you covered. So if you're ready to turn your immigrant experience into your greatest strength, let's dive in. Your American dream starts now. Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Anisha Jennings, and today I'm excited to welcome Cinthia, owner and founder of Digital Bloom IQ, a digital marketing agency helping small businesses increase visibility and grow sustainably through SEO. After working in the corporate world with brands like Avon, Sears, and Hyundai, Cinthia transitioned into entrepreneurship to support businesses that want to make an impact. Through her work, she helps business owners understand their website data, attract aligned clients, and turn content into long-term opportunity. Welcome, Cinthia. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Anisha. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. So you currently are in Argentina.
Yes.
You were born in Argentina, and then you came to Canada and moved back. So tell us a little bit about that journey and how all that started.
Sure. Yeah. So, yes, I was born near the capital, Buenos Aires, Argentina. And when I was about a year and a half, my parents decided they wanted to immigrate to Canada. That was in like the late 80s. So Argentina has many financial things that have happened over the years, I should say, not financial, economic situations. And so they took that decision and they saw Canada as an opportunity, and Canada is a very immigrant, open country in general. And I think at that time too, Canada had opened its doors specifically for immigrants, and both my parents worked in technology. So anyway, they made that decision. They took me along because, I was a little baby, and I was basically brought up in Toronto, and we were in we had a huge Argentine, well, maybe not huge, but we had like a pretty big Argentine community. So we would do a lot of our Argentine things, like our food and, different maybe, cultural things that were different. But I was brought up with a mix of cultures, right? In Toronto, my best friends are from Korea and China and Ukraine and, just any country, all the countries mixed together. And that was really, how we were brought up. We were just brought up in this like multifaceted culture. And then I had some Canadian friends too, like several generation Canadian friends, but a mix. And so I did all my, education in Canada up until university. And when I graduated university, I was looking for work. So I studied fine arts and technology. So it was like a new media fine arts degree. And I was looking for work in museums, but I was really just tired of, I don't know, I guess I was looking for some adventure, really. I was tired of school. Like I 4 years of university, I was done. I didn't want any more exams, anything. And I decided I just want to travel. And I had traveled back to Argentina many times to see my grandparents. I had spent times with my cousins and my aunts and uncles, and I always loved going. So we would go, and we would usually go at Christmas. And I just had these beautiful memories, right? And my grandparents, were all still alive. And I just remember thinking, I just want to spend time with my grandparents. So I made the decision, and with the help of with my mom, because I didn't have money for a plane ticket at that time, I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to Argentina. I don't have a job. Like I can't find any museum jobs right now. I'm just going to go back and just do 6 months of like crazy, whatever, travel, Argentine adventure. I wasn't really thinking super long term. It was just like, let's see. I'm just going to get to know my grandparents more. And I just wanted to get away a little bit from all the like university stuff. And so I did that, and I had a return flight, 6 months. I was 21. And I lived with some family members. I just kind of kept it really low cost, low budget. And I remember that the 6-month mark came and I just loved living in Argentina. I felt so connected to my culture and my family. And it just felt right, just for different reasons. The food, the weather here is very different than in Canada. So suddenly my plan changed because I realized if I want to live here, I need to figure out how I can work and live here. And I started working part-time. I had a family member who owned a dental office. So I did secretary work. I started teaching English because that was high demand and it was easy for me and I like teaching. So that was like a perfect transition. And so I ended up staying and I think I had another 6-month flight and then I canceled that. So it was just kind of like, okay, Cynthia's in Argentina for now. And, every time my friends and my dad, my family, my dad tried to convince me to go back. Poor dad. Everyone was like, okay, so she's back. But I never really thought because I had both of the worlds in my life and I feel so lucky to be able to choose, right? Because not everybody can choose. So anyway, so I was living in Argentina. I met my boyfriend, who's now my partner, and my life was kind of starting from scratch. And it was hard because I am still very Canadian. So I did find, American friends in Argentina. Like now I have an expat community here because you just need to find your people wherever you're at, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'd say about 2 years in, I was playing actually female soccer because I used to play lots of sports. And one of the girls was like, I know a headhunter who works with technology businesses. You need to meet her. And I was still teaching English. I was happy with teaching English. I had lots of work and it was very flexible, right? And I had my own, students. So it was the great job, but I wasn't making tons of money. It was just kind of to survive, I guess. And so I ended up reluctantly, sharing my contact info with this girl. And the next day I had two job offerings.
Wow.
For digital marketing. And at the time I didn't know, because I had a fine arts degree, I knew about coding. I'd self-taught myself to code a website. Like I knew HTML, but I didn't study marketing. I studied fine arts. So I have this degree that ended up serving me in a way that I didn't expect, right? So I went to these job interviews and these were like really not huge companies, but they were a lot bigger than I'd ever known. And one of them was a South African marketing company and they were looking for English speakers, right? Because, my English is native. So, so they ended up hiring me for this web analytics role that I had no idea. So I remember telling my partner, I was like, I'm looking at this job description. They've hired me. I have no idea how to do any of this. Like I know code, like it says you need to do stuff with code, but anyway, I was like, how am I going to do this? And my partner's a carpenter and he made this joke that helped me. He was like, look, you're just going to do what you need to do. Like you're going to do it better than me. Like you're just going to figure it out. And it made me laugh. And when someone makes you laugh, sometimes it helps take the edge off.
For sure.
It helps you not take yourself so seriously. So I started this job and it was a whole new world. Like I'd never worked at such a company before. Like it was corporate environment. And the first few months were really tough because they were putting us through exams and they, basically had us studying and taking these certifications. And we had to pass that to continue. So once that was done, I was like much more relaxed and it was like the best job ever because I had my colleagues in South Africa. I had all the clients were in North America. So that's really where I was able to feel into what it was like to work for companies abroad, right? Because the clients didn't care where we were at, right? They just wanted a good service. And all my colleagues were very intelligent and I learned a lot. And it really opened me up to this world of digital marketing that I hadn't really known. I mean, I knew about it because I guess had created websites, but it's different to be a web developer maybe than to do like digital marketing. Yes. So Yeah, this was like my dream job. I was able to travel. They sent me to Colombia, to just different places around South America to meet with different clients. I really had that autonomy. I was also tired because, they just,
The hours.
when you start work, I guess they just squeeze you for everything you're worth, which
Yeah.
is fine. I guess you get back knowledge. Yeah.
Yes.
And 4 years in, I just had a moment that I realized I could just do this on my own, right? Like,
Mm.
yes, like there was this huge team around me, and like my agency right now is not as big as my previous job, but I just realized clients, they just want a good service and they don't really care really where you're at. And this was like pre-COVID, pre all that. Like this was when we had to coach clients to get on Zoom, and like we had other tools that weren't Zoom, and it was like, and
Right.
they needed help. Like now it's so normalized to get
Yes.
on a Zoom, like everyone knows how to. And I think it's so much easier. Back then, it was even a struggle, like to get them there on the phone, and the internet was everywhere. The whole infrastructure was a
Internet.
little bit,
Yes,
yeah, the infrastructure wasn't as what it is today.
for sure.
So I tried to make it work at my previous job because I did really enjoy it, but I just realized I was meant for something else. And I had a friend actually in Argentina who was an entrepreneur. She did like copywriting mostly,
Mm.
and she kind of opened up my world to the women entrepreneurial like businesses, and I started to meet coaches and just all these women entrepreneurs doing incredible things,
Yeah.
and I was like, I want to help these women because statistically many women don't like know about technical things. And so I was coming with this technical background. We're still not enough women at the top in like technology. It's mostly male dominated, even like in SEO.
Yeah.
And so I just took that leap. I didn't really have a client when I started. I think I tried to work. I think I started my business maybe 6 months before I left my job. And then I went back to teaching English because it gave me that flexibility and I could earn a little bit. But it just took a while before I like had my first client and that sort of thing. And at the beginning, I didn't do SEO actually. I did web analytics, which is what I knew from my previous
Right.
job. I quickly realized that for a small business to invest in web analytics, it's very different because usually
Yeah.
they're on smaller budgets. And then I kind of started to learn SEO, and it was very natural because SEO is a mix of technical and kind of psychology and knowing about content and knowing about how the web works. And so it was really easy for me to pivot my services to SEO. And now, because I have a team, I have ads, I have a PPC expert, I've got a VA, I have a web developer. So I'm able to do like now, yes, we specialize in SEO and our clients love us for SEO, but we really do all sorts of digital marketing. And it took a while for me to get here, but I would say it's been a real journey and I'm really grateful for yeah, for everything, the whole thing.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a great story because there's sometimes after you've experienced the Western dream, not everybody wants to go back, or some people do want to go back, and it's very hard to make those decisions at that time because, say, you've been here with your spouse, with your
Mhm.
kid. You want to wrap everything up and go back to your hometown or your home country, which again, like you said, it's a blessing that you have the option of both. You can be here or
Totally.
go back to your home country. But what are some of the challenges that, you faced when making that decision? And if somebody is in those shoes today where they're like, oh, I need to wrap up here and go back to my home country, either, for to be a caregiver or just to go back for family or whatever is their situation, what would be your advice?
Yeah, so I guess I had it maybe it was easy for me because I was young and I didn't really have like I have friends and I miss my parents and I have my sister, and I guess it was hard in that I had to sort of start from 0. Like, I have my family and they helped me a lot, but I still had, like, no friends, I guess, no infrastructure. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents at the beginning, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm kinda sick of my grandparents now. I need to" I'm 21, I need to get my own life, you know? So I'd say the struggles were, yeah, like, a little bit of talking to my parents and my family and saying, "Look, I wanna come back," and maybe certain people won't understand your decision. and you
Yeah,
need to be ready to, I don't know, defend it, but just be okay with the uncertainty because you just don't know. And I've always left the door open to go back to Canada too. Like, I feel like we can really live anywhere and be at home anywhere. And a lot of people,
for sure.
I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you don't need to tie yourself to anything if you don't, if you can, again, if you have the privilege to be able to choose, like
Yes,
it could be an experiment and you could try to go back, but you get to decide your life and there will be people who get that and people who don't. The other struggle was, like I just mentioned, just like a little bit the social aspect,
right.
at the beginning. I definitely had moments of loneliness. I started to integrate myself back into the culture, but I didn't feel quite Argentine and I didn't feel quite Canadian. And I think I've just learned over time that I'm just this unique blend of both.
Yeah.
And I kind of joke that I'm not 50-50. I kind of like the lava lamp, like it changes. Sometimes I feel
It
more
does.
Canadian, sometimes I feel more Argentine, and that's okay. And where I found the most healing with that is I met other bicultural Argentines. So I've met like Australian Argentine or UK Argentine, and those people I feel like, it's like you guys get
You
me.
get it.
Yeah, and then you meet people from, like, I have a friend who's from US, Brazil, and Argentina, or like they have more than
No.
2 or 3 countries in their life, and you realize, okay, like there's no like rules. Like you can
Yeah,
be from anywhere, and it's not even where you're from. Like, yes, it's part of your identity, but it's what you make it, right? And you can decide that. You have that power.
I love that. I love that you said it's what you have, but it's not like it's part of your identity, but that's not what you need to make it all about. So thank you for
Exactly.
sharing that. Yes. So let's talk about SEO. Everybody talks about SEO. I'm a web developer. I do websites. I talk about SEO. But since we have an expert here, SEO can feel so overwhelming to business owners. And everybody's like, okay, if I have a website, I need SEO. What is SEO? So how can you explain SEO in a way that feels approachable and empowering? And for someone who doesn't know what SEO is, how would you put that?
Yeah. So SEO, just, it stands for search engine optimization, and it's just a fancy way or word for, having a search engine like Google find you online. And there's different search engines, and now there's AI assistants and agents, right? So it's about your website's visibility for the internet. That's all it is. And the cool thing about SEO is that when you don't do it intentionally, you can still get found. And it's different from other marketing in that, like, if you're doing email marketing or ads, you need to like press a button to turn it on, right? With
Right.
SEO, you have to publish your website. But once you publish it, there's actually ways for you to get found, and you don't need to do it. That being said, doing it intentionally is much more powerful, and I recommend
Right.
it, obviously. But I just put that out there because it's so different. And the other cool thing that makes it different is like the timing of it, right? So when someone's emailing their marketing, doing an email marketing campaign, you don't really know if they're ready to buy or if they're even interested. You have no idea of like where they are in the funnel and in the journey, the buyer journey.
Right.
But with SEO, if someone is searching, yeah, like website design for lawyers, for example, you know that they're looking for a website for lawyers. There's like
Right.
really no way around it. So the timing can be fascinating, right? And so you can catch someone who is looking for information. Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe you can catch someone who's already ready to buy, right? And that's why SEO traffic can sometimes, you can get sales immediately. You can get sales immediately from other campaigns too, but I think the timing is really good. So in terms of what doing SEO means, there's a few different areas, and that's why it's confusing, because a lot of people, yeah, just don't understand. Like when it's multiple things, it can be just overwhelming because there's more than one thing. So the first
Yes.
part, which I know, Anisha, you know a lot about, is the technical aspects. So our websites are made of code, and for Google and other search engines and assistants to understand the code, We need to have certain values in place, certain structures in place. And so it makes it easier for Google, the web crawler that pulls information into the search results, makes it easier for it to understand what your website is about, what your business is about, and then to give the searcher who's like searching in Google the information they need to find that, right? So because that's just the infrastructure, we need to pay attention to the back end of your site, just all the cables and wires, and make sure that things are set up in a way. And there's a million different things. Like this could be, maybe some people have heard of like title tags and meta descriptions. Those are just variables we intentionally put in for SEO so that Google can find us better. But even something like site speed, which is so broad, like it could be anything you need to work on. It could be multiple things that can impact your SEO, because if your site's super slow, Google can detect that, and that might frustrate your visitors, and they won't want to spend time on your site. Or if you've got like a neon green navigation and that's like blinding your visitors, that's part of SEO. Maybe some SEOs will argue me on that, of like UX and design are not SEO. I disagree. I mean, it's kind of, you could have the best content, which we're going to get to in a second, or you could have the best fast site, but if your site's not easy to use, you're going to lose people. And that is against, and that basically impacts your rankings in the long term. So technical, is one. Then the second one, which is easier to wrap your head around maybe, is just content and keywords. So basically the content and the meat of your site, like what you put in it, is what Google uses to pick up on. So this could be blogs, these could be podcasts, this could be whatever you want to call it, resources, notes. Don't get stuck on the word blog. It's just a word, like it's just about what's on your site. So we want to use words and phrases that our ideal clients are searching for. And a lot of the times what we think they're searching for is actually different than what they're searching. So here with SEO, we have different tools we use to track what people are actually searching for. And then we build a content strategy to create content around that. And then the last one that's really important is, I call it authority building. Maybe some people might call it backlinking. So authority building is this concept that in order for Google to verify that your content is actually good, it will actually see how other sites and how other business entities are linking back to you and are mentioning you. And this can off your site. So some of it is slightly out of your control, but there's ways to generate mentions, links. It doesn't always have to be a direct link as well, but it's basically building up your authority, right? So my analogy for this is, imagine you move into a new neighborhood and you kind of like don't talk to your neighbors and you just shut yourself up. People around you will start to be like, well, what's going on in that new house? I don't know them. Like, why? And like gossipy probably, right? Typical. That doesn't help the trustworthiness of your business or your site, your house in that case. Versus if you like bake maybe some muffins or whatever. I'm into baking. So, you go around and you're like, hey, like my name's Cinthia, and like, here's a muffin. People will be like, she's so nice. Or like, even if they're like, I don't like the muffin, you're still generating people to mention you. And so that's happens the same with our site. So if no one's mentioning our business, if no one's linking back to our site, your site's like this island in the middle of the ocean. It's going to be very hard for you to rank. And this is also called PR, which is something we do in Digital Bloom IQ. So you need to do that. And a lot of people get to a plateau with their content because they're pumping out content, but they're not working on their authority. And Google talks a lot about this EEAT, which maybe you've heard of it, which stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. These are like the signals it looks at when ranking a site. So I'd say this last one it's not the most advanced, but maybe it is like that final step. Once you have your site that's easy to use and easy to navigate, you start to create content, and then you need to start to get featured places and work on that authority. And again, that could come through podcast interviews. It could come through other collaborations like summits. It could be doing, some SEOs don't recommend, or they say guest posting doesn't work. I feel like anything where you're featured anywhere can work, right? It's just, it's about choosing the places that you want to be mentioned and you want to be featured as well.
So since you started very early on, and now with AI, tell us what changes have happened and how important AI optimization is, and where can somebody who has literally, has not done any sort of SEO, where can they start?
Yeah. So, so AI is basically a new frontier. It's a new way that our clients can find us. And so we want to be mentioned and also featured or recommended by AI
Right.
assistants and, now agents as well. So I would say the foundations, if you're starting from scratch, it's still very similar. Like if, again, going back to what I was just saying, like if you have a website, but no one's mentioning you, AI will probably not recommend you because AI also can see, what is this site recommending? And it will pull from different websites. So the more you can be mentioned, that helps with AI. So a lot of the foundations like around technical are very similar. Content is the one that's maybe the most interesting because the way you search in AI is very different than how you search traditionally in Google, which is
Right.
funny for us to call it traditional, but that's what it is now.
Yes.
So even now, like Google has AI mode. And so we're getting used to more and more. We're just seeing these really long queries, the searches where
Yep.
people are searching a sentence, multiple sentences, right? And that's
Yeah.
fine. Google's also shifting and, they have their own, Google still is the biggest, it has the biggest own of the market, right? So we're not quite in a place where it's just AI, but I'd say with content, the biggest change is we're not as focused on these isolated keywords because we were trained previously to keep our queries as short as possible. And
Right.
now we're all like using really long queries. So how that changes our content is that, we target longer or maybe more nuance. So if you have if you have a resource around like how to choose a website platform for lawyers, maybe you want to go into some more detailed questions that your ideal client might ask that wouldn't just be like 3 words, having an FAQ section, the structure. This is still traditional SEO. So like having good formatting is still what we would recommend in SEO. With AI, it's even more important. So you want to just be doing all the normal SEO things and then a few additional things, and then also just tracking your results in AI because it's still very wild, wild west. We don't
Right.
know everything. We have clues and stuff, but setting up your search console is a great first step. Setting up your Google Analytics, fantastic first step because there
Yes.
you're going to be able to track your results, and what you don't track, you can't really grow, right? So that's the recommendation I give for everybody is like, if you're looking for a easy first step, set up your tools because then
Yes.
you're going to start to see what is already working or where can I start, right? And you
For sure.
can go from there.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for explaining that beautifully.
Yeah.
So, what mindset shifts do business owners need to embrace with long term digital growth? So, for example, SEO, it takes time, right? It's not like you're going to see the results instantly. It's like 2 months, 3 months,
Mhm.
minimum 3 months to see the results. So, what mindset shifts would you suggest?
For like long-term investment, yeah,
Right.
long-term marketing. So, yeah, I mean, my analogy here is like if you're going to plant a garden, you don't plant a seed and then you're like, "Go seed, where are you? I don't see anything," right? Like
Yeah.
I have a garden. We're in summer here in Argentina. So, I
Nice.
have some, yeah, I have some zucchini kind of anyway. So the buds just came out, right? And they're really cute. They're like, so I was just looking at them and there's some seeds that hadn't grown. And I know that that thing is going to take weeks. Like I'm
Right.
not being like, come on, come on, come on, come on, right? So I think we need to put our expectations in the right place. So the plus side of that is if you're growing a tree, it's going to give you fruit every year, right? So SEO, that's the tree that we're creating, right? So once you plant a tree, most years you're going to have fruit or vegetable, whatever. So that's beautiful versus other marketing channels where you have to consistently be paying attention to, or, that doesn't mean you're not going to maintain, you're not going to prune, you're not going to like, debug
Right.
it once in a while. But I think we need to set our expectations. Now, that being said, if you're starting, there's still ways for you to get clients fast. So what I recommend with everyone is try to get started with your SEO as early as possible because it takes time. And
Right.
then let it, like, you don't need to focus on it all the time. You can just have a meeting with yourself once a month, 1 hour, take a look at your search console, take a look at your Google Analytics, look at what your keywords are, what pages seem to be ranking, spend a little time, creating some new content or tweaking previous content. And then that's it. You let it go, right? Because
Right.
you're a business owner, unless you have a budget to hire like an SEO expert or an SEO agency, you don't need to be focusing on it as intentionally. So if you're starting, maybe you do, more networking to start or referral marketing, right? So you need to be networking with people, getting to know people to refer back your clients to.
Right.
Like that can maybe be faster. Ads, a lot of people think ads are like automatic. They still take time, right?
They do.
Ads can also take time. It depends what you're selling. Obviously, I'm like
Yeah.
generalizing. If it's services or products, it can be very
It's
different
different.
and people have gotten results. The other cool thing with SEO is that sometimes you might get like a lead fairly fast. So it's not about, I think it's just don't put all your marketing eggs in one basket.
Yes.
And when you're starting, because if you don't have clients, use all that free time to build a good foundation with SEO,
Right.
to build a good foundation overall. Because then in the future, when you're busy with clients, you'll be thankful that you have blogs that are still ranking. And our clients tell us that. Remember that blog we created 5 years ago? That one's still on page 1. It's like, yes, of course it is.
Beautiful.
It's still generating these sales. So you might not always have that time depending on what season of business that you're in. So when you think about
Yeah.
it like that, you can put your energy into the right things.
Right.
And yeah, I'd say networking really worked well for me at the beginning. And one of the first clients I had was a coach that I worked with. She just liked what I had to do. And she turned around, she's like, I want to hire you. And I was shocked. And, at the time I was a little bit nervous because
Right.
I was like, man, if I do a bad job, but that's how people hire you. They get to know you, they get to know your
No.
value. They see things that you don't see at the beginning because at the beginning it's
Right.
hard to see the value sometimes.
Right.
And then you start getting more experience.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. The first client is hard. And then after that, it's like, okay, the confidence slowly starts building
Yes.
up and then you keep networking. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for, sharing that analogy. And I hope to
Yeah.
see some zucchinis.
Yeah, the zucchinis.
So, if listeners can take one lesson from your story, what do you hope it is?
One lesson. There's so many.
Yeah.
I guess today I would say my lesson is I want to say persevere. Like right now, I'm in a very different season than when I started, but there's still so much perseverance, and that's always served me. Now, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean I don't rest and like I don't take time off and like I don't stop when I'm feeling burnt out. But I would say you just need to keep going. Like when it
Right.
doesn't feel like it's working, keep going. When no one's responding to your emails, keep going. When the proposal you sent, they said no, keep going. Because I think we are looking for this external validation a lot of times. And of course, we need it at some point, but you have to create that for yourself. And even now, like I'm almost 10 years in business, I still need that reminder because now I'm going for bigger goals and bigger things. And we just don't always immediately get the results we want. And I don't know, I'm impatient, like I'm working on that, but I feel like that perseverance has really served me of like, okay, maybe there's just a different angle on this. Maybe if I sleep on it, it'll be a little different. Like I'll have a new idea.
Right.
It's just not everything happens immediately in business. And that also makes it, I think, more stable, right? So you
Right.
can like build those blocks one at a time.
Right. I love that. I love that you said that because it is, as business owners, once you have your own business and then you're like, okay, I can do whatever I want, but there's so many angles to it. You're wearing all the hats. You
Yes.
really want your clients to, just start flowing in and you just want work. But
Hmm.
then you realize there's so much work that goes in to building the trust and
Yeah,
putting yourself out there.
exactly.
So if somebody wants to work with you, what is the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so you guys can go to my site, digitalbloomiq.com, and there's a contact form. So you can just fill that out and we can chat, see if it's a good fit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, sharing your journey, your story, and your work.
Thanks, Anisha. It was great. So much fun.
Thank you. As we wrap up this insightful conversation with Cinthia, remember this: growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens through alignment, intention, and consistency. SEO, like mindfulness, is a long term practice that rewards clarity and commitment. If you're ready to build a website and digital presence that actually works for your business, I'd love to help you bring that vision to life. If you want to be on this show, please feel free to email me. This is Anisha Jennings reminding you that your American dream grows when your message is seen and heard. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning into Your American Dream. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to take on the world. Remember when I first landed in the US, lost and overwhelmed? Well, look at us now. We're building our dreams together. Your story matters, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. If you enjoyed our chat today, please spread the love. Rate, review, and share. Let's grow this amazing community of dreamers together. Want more? Catch my daily doses of inspiration on my Instagram @JenningsTechCorner. Also check out the show notes for more ways to connect. Remember, your accent is the voice of your ambition. Your background is your superpower. Let's dream big and achieve bigger. Until then, this is Anisha cheering you every step of the way.